Yo, got that X-M5, let's go shoot! But the X-M5, man, no, I'm good, man. I've seen all I needed to see from all the other YouTube videos. I know, man, but I'm saying, we got it right here. We can go shoot it, we can go use it. Let's go take some photos. Nah, man, it doesn't even have an EVF. How's it gonna be a photography camera? Man, that's crazy. Come on, man, an EVF isn't gonna make or break the photos. Come on, man, let's go shoot. Besides, I heard it's a good vlogging camera. I heard it's got some really good vlog features. Let's go test it out, man. Come on, let's go. Bruh, it doesn't even have IBIS. How's it, you can't vlog with it? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Bruh, you won't know until you actually try it. Let's go. Nah, because it says right here in the YouTube video, Fuji autofocus is trash. Man, get off that phone and let's go shoot. Nope, come on, nah. Come on, nah. Come on, nah. Whatever, bro. Do you. I'm gonna go shoot. Fuji autofocus. More for us. So Fuji X-M5. Now I know you've probably already watched dozens of unboxings already, so I'm gonna make this really quick. Okay, we got a little Fuji paperwork. We got a trial for Capture One. I already got Capture One, so not needed. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, it's so tiny. Okay, we got our battery. Drop it in. Cool. We also have our neck strap here. That's it. So that's the quick unboxing. Let's go ahead and get into some of the accessories for it. So basically, here's all the accessories I'm gonna be using with the X-M5. I didn't wanna build up a huge kit for it because it is such a tiny camera. It's meant to be super low key, but these are just the things that I plan to be using with this camera. Starting with the essentials, I have my SD card here. In fact, let me go ahead and drop that in. Okay. I have a couple of extra batteries. I think I got one more in the XT50, but they essentially share the same batteries, and so don't really have to worry about buying any new ones because it did come with its own battery. I have two spare, and then I have one in the XT50, so I can use them interchangeably. Now, I also got this cold shoe cover from Small Rig. It came along with some other accessories that I have here. But then I also got this nice little thumb grip to put into the cold shoe in order to give me a little bit of extra grip with such a tiny camera. That really does help the grip. Now, of course, I do have my wrist strap here because that's primarily what I like to use in order to keep the camera attached to me. It's just using a simple wrist strap. Carrying over from the XT50, I still have this nice leather wrist strap for me. It's not bad. It's just my hands are a little big, so getting my hand back out of it can be a little cumbersome, but other than that, it's not that bad. And then I also have this nice little tripod. And what I like about this tripod is that it extends out. If we have that little crop that is supposedly pretty extensive when we go into digital image stabilization on the X-M5. You know, I can just pull this out if I'm filming with it and still kind of get a good distance depending on, you know, what kind of lens I'm using. Now, getting into lenses, I only really plan to use 3 lenses with this camera. Of course, I'm gonna be using the 27mm f2.8 lens because it's just a staple. It keeps the camera super compact. It's a good little street photography lens. And yeah, it hasn't failed me yet. It worked well with the XT50, and I think it'll work even better with the X-M5. Additionally, I have the Sigma 10-18 lens, which I think will be perfect for vlogging. It isn't optically stabilized, but I do think putting it at that 10mm focal length will be really good for vlogging, especially if I'm gonna be using the digital image stabilization. It'll give me a little bit extra reach, so I won't be too close in the frame. And so just seeing it on here, it doesn't look too bad, you know? It does have a little bit of weight to it, a little bit more weight to it than the 27mm f2.8, but it's not bad, it's manageable. Lastly, I have with me the Sigma 18-50 lens. It's also not optically stabilized, but it does also have the f2.8 aperture, and I see this as more of a very versatile lens. So if I want to shoot some video, if I want to shoot some photos, it does give me the ability to have a pretty good range of reach. And lastly, I can't go without mentioning that I have some nice soft shutter release buttons here. Of course, I got the red ones that came with my Small Rig accessories, but for me, I think I'm gonna be using this nice little shutter button here. So now that we've looked at accessories, let's do a quick size comparison with some of my other cameras. Looking at it first against the Ricoh GR3, Fuji is a little bit thicker. We put them side by side like this. Let's look at the tops. In fact, I can fit both of these in one hand. Looking at the top here. Now looking at it next to its big brother, the X-T50, you can tell it is much smaller than the X-T50. And the X-T50 is a small camera, both with 27mm lenses. I got the little Arca Swiss plate on the X-T50, but hold them like that, not bad. They both share that film simulation dial. And just for fun, I thought it would be fun to compare the X-M5 with my little point and shoot film camera. And so this is my Pentax SBO 115G, and it's a tiny little point and shoot film camera. But yeah, this is just kind of how it looks against the X-T50. But yeah, y'all, that's a quick unboxing, little size comparisons, and some of the accessories that I'm gonna be using with the X-M5. But with that said, y'all, I am ready to go shoot. Let's get it.
All right, y'all, so we are out here in La Jolla with the X-M5. I got the Sigma 10 to 18 on here. I do have OIS plus DIS engaged right now. This is not an optically stabilized lens, but hopefully the digital stabilization is doing its job while I'm walking. We're gonna capture some photos back here in the town area, but then also go down to the beach and kind of see what we can get with the X-M5. How is the stabilization? Like I said, I do have the digital stabilization on. This is not an optically stabilized lens, so it is just these two, and yeah, is it jittery? Is it not? Y'all let me know.
Okay, y'all. So the Fuji X-M5. Now, first and foremost, let me just say, this is just gonna be my first impressions. This is not a full review. I still have a lot I want to test and try with this camera. I haven't even put in my custom settings yet. I basically just took this out of the box, turned it to nostalgic neg, and went to go shoot. Now, I did change some video settings, you know, 4K, changing my shutter speed in order to get the motion blur, all that good stuff. But basically, I really did just shoot this out of the box glass, no real settings applied to it. But yeah, there are so many things I want to test with this camera. I want to see how this compares to the DJI Pocket 3 as a vlog camera. I want to see how it compares to the Ricoh GR3 and the Fuji X-T50 as a photography camera, and really just kind of put it through its paces and see where it falls in my overall lineup so that I can communicate that to you all. But getting into these impressions, you know, first and foremost, I'm gonna start with ergonomics, in-hand feel, and the experience of using this camera out and about. Now, I will say for me, I think there's a threshold in sizes of cameras that are comfortable to me. And I think this butts right up against the edge of uncomfortable, to be honest. It is really small for me. As I mentioned in a previous video, I have relatively large hands, and so just holding this thing, I'm basically just lobster clawing it with like these two fingers right here, just gripping it super tight. These are just kind of resting here, but these are the ones that are gripping it. But not to worry, because I do have my wrist strap, and you know, just having it on my wrist does give me that peace of mind that I'm not gonna drop it all the way to the ground, and so that wasn't too bad. But I will say, putting on a larger lens on this kind of makes it feel a little unwieldy with the weight, because it feels like the weight is shifting a little bit, but it's manageable. It's just something that I'm gonna have to get used to. Additionally, because it is so small and where my fingers rest, I found myself continually hitting this ISO dial up front, and so I kept finding that I was getting images that were too bright. I'd have to dial down the ISO because I kept bumping this thing. Versus something like the Ricoh GR3 that has the dial on the front, but it's actually on the top of the camera. And so my hand can just rest on the GR3 and not have to worry about hitting that button. And then when I'm ready to change something, I just reach up to the top front of this camera and change whatever settings are mapped to it. So that may be something Fuji might want to consider in their next M series camera. Now, continuing with user experience, the screen on this X-M5, it was pretty good. You know, I went and I was shooting probably around like 3 o'clock. And so the brightness on the screen was fine. I didn't really have a problem seeing anything. I can dial in my exposure, my focus, make sure that I'm seeing everything correctly. And the screen worked fine. And you know, just it being a flippy screen, it was great for filming myself, seeing myself, being able to get low angles, high angles, and portrait orientation. And yeah, it did the job. I never really missed an EVF on this camera because, truth be told, I'm not really the type of photographer who really uses the EVF that often. I only really use it when I am using a manual focus lens. That way I can definitely see what's in focus and what's not in focus. But I never really found myself with the X-M5 raising the camera up to my eye in order to look through an imaginary EVF. And so I didn't really miss it, to be honest. Now, as far as image quality of photos goes, I felt like I was using the X-T50 basically. I felt like the images coming out of this camera were very similar to the X-T50. It was behaving like the X-T50 as far as how the colors were presenting themselves, how the highlights and shadows were blending and all that good stuff. And so yeah, this feels like it falls right in line with the X-T50 and the X-T5 that I used to have. Now, like I said, I wasn't using any custom recipes or anything. I was just using straight nostalgic neg. And yeah, I liked how the photos came out. Now, video so far is a little middle of the road for me. Stabilization is the big thing. I noticed, and I just looked at the shots, that as I was doing my talking head pieces, the stabilization was kind of weird. You know, I fully realized I was not using an optically stabilized lens, but even so, the digital stabilization did look a little jello-y, I'm not gonna lie. Also, I'm a hard walker. I step hard when I walk, so there was a lot of shake because I just take hard steps, y'all. Anyone else like that? Any of y'all hard walkers? I think it's just gonna be a matter of me getting used to the digital stabilization feature in this camera, knowing what it's good at, what it's not good at, and really using it for the right scenarios when shooting video with this camera. But the image quality itself was pretty good, especially for the pieces where either I was shooting either the landscape, just doing some panning, or if I'm stationary and shooting myself. I thought the quality was nice, and most importantly, I was in focus. And so that wasn't something I even really thought about at the time, but looking back at the footage, I noticed that I was in focus, I was looking good, and yeah, this served its job. But yeah, y'all, those are my first impressions of this X-M5 here. Like I said, I got a lot I want to test with this camera, so many things that I want to try and experiment with. But y'all let me know in the comments, what do y'all want to see me test on this X-M5? Do you want to see me review it against the DJI Pocket 3 for vlogging first? Do you want to see me compare it to these two, the Ricoh GR3 and the X-T50 first? Do you want me to do an autofocus test? Do you want me to do a color grading F-log test? Vlogging, portraits, street? Y'all let me know. Let me know down in the comments and I'll see if I can work it into a video. But anyway, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. If you like this video, go ahead and drop this video a like. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. But until next time, y'all, I will catch all of y'all later.